this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make parts of your avatar glow. I'll be showing it in both Substance Painter and in Krita, which is a free Photoshop alternative, so feel free to skip to whatever section you would like to follow. I'll also be showing how to import your textures into Unity, and I'll be using the Poyomi Toon shader for this example. If you'd like to use Substance Painter and don't already have it, you can get a free trial right here on the Adobe website. If you want to use a 2D editing software, I'll be doing my tutorial in Krita, but feel free to use either Photoshop, GIMP, or whatever 2D editing software that you like. Before we dive in, we need to go over the difference between an emissive map and an emissive mask. This here is an example of an emissive map. You'll notice that it has multiple different colors with a black background. These colors here will tell the program what colors you want your emissives to glow. This is an example of an emissive mask. You'll notice that it's black and white with no colors. This is what I normally use, so users can adjust the colors to be whatever they would like. So you can choose whichever one you want. This one you have more flexibility within Unity, and this one here you can potentially have more customization. I'm going to be starting off with how to create an emissive mask, and then I'll show how to make an emissive map. This here is the feline avatar that I made, but you can use whatever avatar that you'd like for this. So we're going to start off by making a fill layer. To do that, click Add Fill Layer. We want this fill layer to be on top of every other layer we have. So we're going to make this in the color channel. So we can hit Alt and select color on that fill layer we just made. So we're only creating in the color channel. Now we're going to select this here, go all the way down to black. So everything is black. The process for this is going to be the same for anything you want to add an emissive map or mask to. So I'm just going to show it on the body and hide the rest of these texture sets so it's easier to see what we're doing. Now let's say we want to make something on this avatar glow. So a common thing is to make, say, like the stripes glowing. We can do that by scrolling down and finding the stripes layer. Now this is only going to be possible if that layer is a fill layer, so you'll notice if it's a fill layer, if it has this little bucket icon right here. If it's a paint layer, you probably won't be able to do this unless it's all white. So we're going to select the stripes layer, hit Ctrl-C to copy it, scroll all the way back up, and paste that above the fill layer that you just created. Now we're going to make those stripes white. To do that, select this right here, select this, and drag this all the way up to white. Some of this might take a little bit of time to load in Substance Painter. Substance Painter is just a very slow program, so you might just have to give it some time. Now with this, our stripes will be glowing. If you want to add some more custom things to this where you don't have a layer to copy and paste at the top, you can do that by either making a paint layer and painting anything that's grayscale into this, or you can add a fill layer. I'm going to be doing a fill layer for this example, so select Add Fill Layer again. We're going to click Alt, Color, make this white, right click, and hit Add Black Mask. One thing I didn't mention before is that this does not have to be just black and white. You can have grayscale in here too. So black is no color, or no glowing, and white is glowing, and then so grayscale would be something in between depending on how close it is to black or how close it is to white. So you can just keep that in mind when you're making your mask if you want to add gradients or something like that. Okay, so back to what we're doing. We're going to make sure our black mask is selected. And now we're going to go get a brush. You can do that by going over here, selecting this, and hitting the brush drop down. I usually like to use either the basic hard or basic soft, but you can use whatever you want for these brushes depending on the look you're going for. So to select a brush, double click it, and you should now have that brush selected. You can either work in symmetry or out of symmetry. That button is located up here, and you can turn it on and off depending on what you would like to do. Now we can start painting. If you would like to have it glow less than the stripes say, you can turn down that layer mask, or you can go ahead and adjust the color in here, depending on what you would like to do. You can add some gradients by reducing your stroke opacity, making your brush maybe nice and big, and just slowly adding gradients like this. If you want to select certain pieces, you can do so with the polygon fill. Here are a couple of different options. You can either fill in one polygon, you can fill an entire mesh, or you can fill it by UV chunk fill. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this, but if you want to know more about this, you can watch my Substance Painter Basics tutorial, which I'll link up above. So we can make the claws glow too if we'd like, just by selecting them like this. Okay, the last thing I want to go over for making things glow is making the eyes glow. For this avatar here, I have options for that already in game, but if you want to make your own custom one, you can do so by either coloring it in yourself, or you can use this eye layer here that I've already created. Control C to copy it. It's the same process. Control V to paste that on top. Now you'll notice that it's the full color. Right here, we don't want that. We want to just have it be black and white. So let's open up this eye folder. We're going to delete some of the unnecessary layers here. And this here is going to be our cornea, so we're going to make this all black. Now we're just left with the eye color. Let's make this black and white. Open up the eye color options. And the easiest way to do this, in my opinion, is just using an HSL filter. I've already added that on here. If it's not on yours, you can right-click this and hit Add Filter, and then type in HSL to add it. But I've already got one here, so I'm going to use this. We're going to remove all of the saturation from this, so it's just grayscale. If you want to get rid of this little ring right here for your eyes, open up the eye color folder, and just keep in mind that this is how I've organized the files for my avatar. For the feline avatar, the file setup will probably be different for each avatar, so you might have to work around some other layers. So we're going to scroll down to the iris base color right here. Select the color and make that black. That's going to make this nice and smooth. I would also recommend deleting the pupil base color and the pupil shadow if you would like this pupil to not glow. But obviously, personal preference, do whatever you would like to do for your recolor. If you want the highlight to be a little bit brighter and to glow, to be the same level as the stripes, we can increase the eye highlights. So find the eye highlight, select this, and let's make that fully white. Now we're going to take this slider here. It's only set to 20% opacity, so we can increase this to make it glow as brightly or as dimly as you would like. You can edit additional pieces of this here by doing the same process and changing the color and increasing the opacity of the layer, just depending on the look that you're going for. So once you're happy with everything, you can go ahead and export out your texture. If you realized you accidentally colored on some things like the whiskers here, you can quickly clean that up by adding a new fill layer, making it black, right-clicking, hit Add Black Mask, and we're going to use our polygon fill to fill in these mistakes here. You can also use this to fill in any sections that you don't want to glow. Now that it's all done, you can export this out up here, File, Export Textures. Since we just did the body, I'm going to uncheck everything else, select the body, and make sure you're just exporting out the base color here. In your global settings, you can choose your output directory, which is where your file will export to. So to do that, select this and pick your output directory. And then once you've done all that, hit export. If you've already forgotten where you saved that file to, you can select Output Directory up here and it will open up that file location. I'm now going to show how to make an emissive map, which is the colored version of this, but if you have already finished this, you can go ahead and skip to the Unity section of the video where I show how to import the texture into Unity and put it into your material. To make an emissive map, you can use either the same process that I just did to make an emissive mask, and instead of just doing black and white, you can add in colors as well, or you can make an emissive channel in Substance Painter. I'm going to be showing that way just because I get a lot of questions on how to do that. So the first thing we're going to do is go up here to our base color, and we need to switch this to material. This will allow us to see all of our material channels at once interacting with each other. Now we're going to go to our texture set settings, and we need to add that emissive channel. Scroll down till you see channels, click this plus sign, and select emissive. Now, when you go back to your layers, you should see an option for an emissive channel. Now we can start making pieces glow. So, to do that, let's start off with the stripes. Let's say you want those stripes to glow. We can scroll down to the stripes and select this here. Now this will only work if these are fill layers. I always work in fill layers, but if you're on another avatar that doesn't have a fill layer, you will probably have to recreate that layer or find some workaround to make that specific layer glow. So for a fill layer, we can select emissive. Now we've got an emissive channel added. Your emissive channel will default to black. So black means not glowing, and anything else will signify the color that it will glow. So we can change that to a color. Let's say we want this to glow blue. To do that, select your emissive right here, and we can pick blue as our color. If you want it to glow multiple different colors, for example, we can make our emissive mask white and right-click the stripes and select Add Paint. Now we can scroll down on our paint layer, and we just want to paint in the emissive section of this. So select Alt and hit emissiveness to turn off all of the other layers except for the emissive. Now we can choose our emissive color. So let's say we want it to be a light blue. You can select that, and now we're going to go over to our brushes. So our brushes are located here. You can also select this drop down and select brushes here. You can pick the brush. If I'm doing multiple colors, I often like to use the basic soft brush or the basic hard brush, just depending on personal preference. So to select a brush, double click it. And I'm going to be working in symmetry. That button is located right up here, so you know that you have symmetry on when there's this big line going down the avatar. You can toggle that on and off right up here. Now we can start painting, and you'll notice that you're just coloring within the stripes. If you want to reduce your opacity, you can do so up here and get a nice blend. You can add multiple colors and blend them all together. You can also adjust the base color. I did white because it will show the colors the most pure. But if you want a blue base, for example, it can mix the red with the blue base. So you can play around with that to get the desired look. Once you've finished coloring that in, let's say you want to remove sections of the stripes where you don't want them to glow. So maybe you don't want these stripes here to glow, or maybe you want them to glow less brightly. To do that, select the stripes, the stripes mask. So make sure you've got that selected. Go up to your brushes. We're going to move this to black, and you can start painting. As you can see, the stripes are now glowing a little bit less bright. You can increase your stroke opacity to full if you want to just fully get rid of them. just remember that when you're editing this mask, if you're using this as your base color as well, so let me switch over to the base color, you'll be editing that as well. So if you just want to make you can copy and paste this and make a separate layer for editing your emissiveness if you would like to do that. Or you can have the base color and the emissiveness link up. So back to the material. Let's say you want to add your own custom glowing that's not using a pre-made layer. I'm going to make this layer all the way at the top, and you can either use a paint or a fill layer for this. I already showed how to edit a paint layer, or a fill layer, so I'm going to make a paint layer. Make sure you've got emissiveness selected, and now we can paint whatever we'd like in our paint layer. I'm going to increase the stroke opacity so you can see it a little better. And you can do multiple different colors on the same paint layer. Just remember that once you've painted, you can't adjust the color of your individual strokes. If you want the eyes to glow, you can go to the eye layer, open that up, and let's open up the eye color options. Like I mentioned before, this is just how I set my file up. Everyone does it differently, so you won't be able to follow along exactly if you're doing a different avatar. So I'm going to scroll all the way down until I find the eye highlights, and I'm going to add an emissiveness layer to this. Again, it will default black, but say I want my eyes to glow blue. You can add that in, and you'll notice that there's a little bit of blue now here. We can add this to multiple different layers for a different effect, so you can add all different colors to this to create whatever look you would like. If you're having trouble seeing what your emissive map will look like, you can hit this drop down here and find the emissive channel and select that. That's just going to show you your emissive channel right here. If it has this checkered background, you can add in a black background by going all the way to the bottom, adding a fill layer, and making a black fill emissive layer. That's going to add the black background, and it will make things even easier to see. So back to the eyes. We can continue to edit the colors of these to be whatever we would like. If you don't want it to glow the whole way around, go up to your eyeshadow, add an emissive layer, and make sure that that is black. There are a couple of different layers like this, so you might have to add it to all of those layers. Once you're happy with how it looks, you can go ahead and export your emissive map out. To do that, go to File, Export Textures, and again, because I'm just exporting out the body, we are going to just have the body checked. And now we made an emissive. If you used an emissive channel layer, you need to export out the emissive map right here. So select that. You can uncheck base color. Go to your settings, and this here is your output directory. You can select that and choose where you want that file to be saved to. Then hit export. If you already forgot where you exported that to, you can hit open output directory and it will open the file location of that image. Now you can skip to the next part of my tutorial, which is how to input that map into Unity and put it into your material. I'm going to show how to do the Photoshop version of the file next using Krita. For this example, I'm going to be using the tiger version of my feline avatar. So this is what the body Photoshop file looks like, and again, I'm using Krita for this, but feel free to use Photoshop, GIMP, or whatever 2D editing software you would like. By default, Krita opens up every single folder, so I'm just going to collapse these really quick to make it a little bit easier to see what's going on. I'm going to start off with how to make an emissive mask, which is the black and white version, and then I'm going to go over how to make an emissive map. So the first thing we're going to do is fill this whole thing in black. I'm going to make a new layer below the UV and labels. I'm going to use these as a guide so I can see what I'm doing. So select a layer below that, and then you can add a new layer here with a plus sign for Krita. Make sure you have your brush selected, make it black, and you can increase your brush size up here so make it just nice and big and fill everything in black. So black means it's not going to glow, white means it will glow, and anything in between will be a gradient. So we want to make sure we're not making the entire thing glow unless that's what you're looking for. Now I'm going to color my UVs a different color so we can actually see what's happening and turn off the labels for now. So I'm going to select those body UVs. In Krita, you can lock this layer here. It should be automatically locked in Photoshop, but just make sure it's locked so you stay within the lines. And I'm going to make this, how about red for now, so we can see what's happening. Normally I'd make it white, but we're doing black and white, so I want to be able to see. Let me make it a little bit lighter than that. Okay. Now we've got a good base, and now we can start adding in our mask. So let's say the avatar has stripes, and you want those stripes to glow. If it already has a layer for that, we can copy and paste that layer. So for this one here specifically, we've got our stripes layer located in our body color. So I'm going to hit Control-C to copy that, scroll all the way up to the top, and paste that above that black paint layer that we just made. So Control-Shift-V to paste, or Control-V to paste in Krita, my bad. So now we're going to color in those stripes to be white so they're glowing. I'm going to make my color white. Again, lock that layer and fill everything in. You can adjust how much things glow in Unity, or you can do it here by making it, say, gray. So maybe this section will glow a little bit less than this one here. My body is also laid out symmetrically, so you can work in symmetry with this button up here. And we can move this right into the middle. And so now we're painting symmetrically. If you want to paint some of your own stuff, you can do so by adding another layer, making it white, and let's zoom in a little bit to, say, this section here. I'm going to go back up to my brush and you can start painting. If you don't know what section you're painting on, you can turn those guides back on and it will tell you. So right now I'm painting on top of the left and right hand. Once you're happy with how it looks, you can save this out. Before you save it out, make sure you turn off your body UVs, because if you don't, then that will end up on your texture as well. So go up to File, Save As, and you can save this as an image, so PNG, JPEG, etc. Once you've done that, you can jump to the Unity section of this tutorial, and I'll show you how to import it into Unity and add it to your material. Alright, now I'll show how to make an emissive mask. So to do that, we've got our UVs and labels that we made. We're going to, again, fill everything in black. So make a paint layer, make it black, make your brush nice and big, and fill everything in. Now it's all black, so nothing is currently glowing. I'm going to turn on my UVs again so we can see what we're doing. I'm going to show the same example that I showed for the emissive mask, and I'm going to make the stripes glow. So to do that, Control C to copy the layer, and we're going to paste this above this black paint layer that we just made. So Control V to paste it. We're going to lock this layer, and if you would like to paint symmetrically, because my body is laid out symmetrically here, you can do so by clicking this right here and adjusting this to be in the center. And so remember, we're locking this layer so we stay within the stripes that are already made. And if you want, just so you can see exactly where they are, you can fill everything in to be white. And now we can pick some colors. So let's say we want it to be a light blue. We can do so here and color this section in to be light blue. You can add additional colors here like this. And just fill everything in to be the color that you would like. If you're ever not sure of what section you're painting on, you can turn on these body labels and it will tell you exactly which section every UV is. So you can turn that on and off as a guide. If you want to make your own custom layer without using a base, you can add another layer. And let's zoom in, and you can start painting. So you can make whatever design you would like of whatever colors you would like. Once you're happy with your design, you can save this image. So make sure you turn off the labels and UVs, or else you'll have glowing UV lines on your avatar, which maybe is a look, but if you don't want that, make sure you turn that layer off. Now go up to File, Save As, and save this as an image, so PNG, JPEG, etc. And now I'm going to pop over to Unity and show you how to import this image and make your avatar blue. I have my avatar here open in Unity. If you're using one of my avatars and you're struggling to get to this step, please watch my upload tutorial. So I'm going to first show how to add an emissive map and mask to the feline avatar to work with the in-game sliders. So if you're not using the feline avatar, please skip to the next section of this tutorial on how to do it more generally. Also make sure that you have the Poyomi Toon shader imported into your project, as that's the shader that we're going to be using. So for the feline, let's open up the folder. Go to Body Material, PC, and I'm going to use the M_custom material since we're going to be making our own custom one. So let's use this avatar here as the example. Select the custom material and you can input your custom body texture here and then drag it on. I'm just going to leave this though as a flat color so we can better see what's going on with our emissives. So I'm also going to make this a little darker. Now we can drag in our custom textures. So this here is the mask. We're going to be doing that one first. Drag it in, select it, and we need to adjust the settings to check MIP streaming, Kaiser, and I'm going to put this to 4K, but you can put it at 2K for optimization, and then hit apply when you're done. Go back to your custom material and hit the special effects drop down. For the feline, we need to be adjusting it in emissions 0. Hit that drop down and swap this mask here for your new mask. So drag it in. Currently the emission strength is set to 0, but if you want to see what's happening, you can slide this up. Just make sure you put it all the way back down when you upload. We also need to adjust the matte cap, so let's open up shading, matte cap 1, and drag that mask into this section right here under matte cap 1. If you would like, you can also adjust the default color. There is a hue slider in game, but you can adjust the color that it starts on here if you would like. And that's it for adjusting the emission with a mask for your feline avatar. You can now upload the avatar once you're ready. Let's do the emissive map next. We're going to drag this in, select it, hit MIP streaming, Kaiser. I'm going to switch this to 4K, but you can keep it at 2K for optimization if you'd like, and hit apply. Now I'm going to go back to my custom material and hit the drop down for special effects. For the feline specifically, we'll be working in emission 0, and this is so it works on the menus. So make sure you're using emission 0. And we need to reset the emission mask, so right click it, hit reset. Now we're going to reset emission map, right click, reset. Now hit this drop down and we need to reset panning, right click and reset that one. And lastly, we need to uncheck center out. Now we can adjust our color to white and drag in our new body emissive map. If you don't see anything, it's because the emission strength is set to 0. You can bump this up just so you can see it here, but before you upload, you need to put it back down to 0. Now let's go up to shading and find matte cap 1 and uncheck that. That's it for adding an emissive map to your feline avatar. Just remember again to turn this emissive strength back down to 0 before you upload. Now I'll show how to add your own emissives if your avatar doesn't have emissives already set up, or you're not trying to put it into a specific emission slot. So let's start with the emission mask first. Drag that in, select it, and we need to hit MIP streaming, Kaiser, and you can choose your size. I'll put mine to 4K, but you can do whatever size you would like for optimization purposes. Select your material, and the emissives will be under special effects for Poyomi. I have these slots already in use, so let me use emission 1 as the example here. We're going to check this. And now drag in that mask into the emission mask section. Let's turn up our emissive strength. And now we can choose our emission color. That's it for adding an emissive mask to your avatar with the Poyomi Toon shader. Now let's go to adding an emissive map. Now let's do the emissive map. We're going to drag that in, select it, MIP streaming, switch this to Kaiser, choose your size, and hit apply. Select your custom material. We're going to go into the special effects, and for this example I'll be using emission 1, so let's check that and drag your emissive map into the emission map section right here. Put your emissive strength to whatever you would like, and that's it, we're all done. You're ready to upload your avatar to VRChat.